Hello, welcome back to IPBC Asia 2013. AU Optronics is one Taiwanese company that's very serious about defending its patent. It's one of the largest LCD panel makers, and not too long ago came to an agreement with Samsung and others to cross-license their technology in this space following lawsuits launched by both parties. Now we have with us here at the conference today Dr. T.K. Wu. He is the Chief Intellectual Property Officer who was appointed at AU Optronics after this case was settled with Samsung. Dr. Wu, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you.
So firstly, could you tell us a little bit more about how AU Optronics goes about monetizing or adding value to its patent portfolio?
Okay, and we started the company in 1997, and 10 years after when our exposure became big. And of course, we are facing a lot of challenges from the IP infringement. Of course, in the first round, we are facing the challenge from those major players like Sharp, LG, Samsung, and etc. And quickly we find out that by our own patent portfolio is not strong enough. So we start to acquire patent from other companies like IBM and etc. And in the beginning, we needed 6 months to do our first response. And by practicing, we have become more and more mature. In the last case, within 2 weeks, we can fight it back. I think that you are talking about the portfolio. Actually, I think the in-house patent and the acquired portfolio is both equally important, which has been proved in our infringement battle against our competitors. Actually, as you know that we won most of the case.
A lot of people in this business say that they prefer the boardroom to the courtroom, but really you do have to have a court strategy, a legal strategy from the outset, don't you? So again, what does AU Optronics do in order to make sure that there's not just that nice talk about licensing agreements and boardroom settlements, but to make sure that the other party also is aware that you do take your patent seriously?
Oh yes, I think that of course we are not welcome any kind of infringement court case, but we have no choice because we always been chasing for such kind of claim. And but I think that's a very good challenge and grow up opportunity for a young company like AUO. Every time once we cross over a court case, the company becomes stronger than before. I think, and we know how to well organize our portfolio, or we know how to align with our resources and our corporate strategy. So you can say that I personally appreciate such kind of opportunity.
Now you mentioned that you've cut down the amount of time that it takes for you to respond to 2 weeks. If that Samsung AT&T case from 2011 was to come around again, or a similar case was to come around, would you tackle it differently now that you are the Chief IP Officer? Would you, given that you have made advances in how you respond to these claims, would you tackle it in a different way?
I think the response time will give the plaintiff a strong feeling that we have something and we are ready. And such kind of thing will create a good starting point for the court case. So we learn that. So I think the two weeks actually is a short time. So actually such kind of pattern mapping, evaluation, and a lot of pattern jobs has become part of our routine job, a daily job. We are prepared for the worst case every day, yes.
Now, you are relatively new to this role. You started at the beginning of 2013, but you have a long career in research and development behind you.
Yes.
What would you say were the most important things that you've learned over and above your R&D experience since taking on this role at the beginning of this year?
I think the IP is not the only IP. I think IP is the outcome of the IP activities. But as my career in the beginning as an R&D engineer and corporate management, I think the IP activity will energize those research and all kind of activity, including the corporate strategy formation. So I think IP, that's something, the process is even more important than the outcome sometimes.
And how have you dealt with that in your day-to-day work now that you are the Chief IP Officer? What has this strategic importance that you mentioned? How has that influenced your work?
I think focus is very important things. I think no company has unlimited resources. With limited resources and limited time, we must be very focusing on one or two things and something one another is for the future.
What would be an example?
For example, currently we are TFT LCD companies, and but TFT LCD, such kind of technology cannot be everlasting. So we are prepared for next generation display. Before we prepare it, we have to prepare how we mapping and design our pattern tree for the future, for next battle. Because the pattern is in the beginning stage is easier. You can find a very good quality, important pattern. In the future, it's become difficult and more costly. So we're prepared and see sometime for the next 10 years, very important for as an IP officer. Yes.
I see. So in 10 years then, what do you think AU Optronics will be in terms of what will its strategy be? How different will the company be in 10 years?
We must have some kind of imagination. What kind of human life would be 10 years later? Okay, I think for display and all kind of high tech actually try to provide a better life for human being. So from that kind of point, so we will see what kind of new technology. For example, substrate used to be glass. Now in the future, maybe flexible. Okay, something, and then we'll give the TV and our handset a new definition. So that's another technology opportunity or pattern opportunity for such kind of foresee. Yeah.
And is Taiwan the best place to be in terms of developing this technology? Are there particular advantages or perhaps even disadvantages that you face in Taiwan?
Taiwan market is small, so it's very difficult to build that so-called global brand. But still, there's an opportunity. But domestic market is our weak point. But since Taiwan is very small, so all kind of resources is very much concentrated into one point. So it's easier for us to assess foreign information, like different technology, even different country. Okay, so Taiwan is a kind of very energetic, fast response country.
Now, obviously, there's an increasing economic integration with China. And once again, the same question, I suppose, applies. What advantages or disadvantages do you see from that tighter cross-strait relations and the easing of tensions that we've seen in recent years?
I think recently Taiwan and mainland China, their relationship become much better than 10 years before. And I think frankly speaking, we share the same culture, same language, even same philosophy. Okay, so it's easier than any other country, any other people that Taiwan cooperate with China. As China, obviously, would be the best opportunity place in the world in the next 20 years. Maybe.
Finally, then, Dr. Wu, when you retire from this job or you move on to another job, how will you measure the success of your job as the Chief IP Officer at AU Optronics? What do you hope to achieve during your tenure?
I think this job, one of the major tasks is to help the company to form a meaningful strategy. Okay, because we can see the long forecast, the landscape for the new life. Okay, after I retire, I try to help young people because I was young before, being helped by other senior people. So I think that's the way I try to do. Yes.
We wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Dr. TK Wu from AU Optronics here at IPBC Asia 2013. I'm Mark Lowry.